Today I want to talk to you about something very important. I want to talk to you about drawing a line in the sand. Let that line represent a point in which you will no longer let your past interfere with your future. Too often are we plagued by what happened to us in our past, that it prevents us from looking into the future. You have to realize that your mind is a battleground. It is a place where your greatest conflicts are, and you will fight your biggest battles. In every person's life, both young and old, there exists some little underground voice that tries to define who you are. Some degree of chatter that puts doubt in your mind and challenges your faith. It says things to you like you're trying to be a good mother, but you don't even have a good relationship with your own mother. You're trying to be a good father, but you can't even put food on the table. Or how about you want to start a business, but you're 6 months behind on rent? Do you see that there will always be some background noise to something you are trying to do? There are more people in this world having problems in their mind than there are people having problems with their finances. You have to realize that the struggle is in your mind. Have you ever gone to bed and slept 8 to 10 hours, then wake up and still feel tired and exhausted the next day? Well, that is because when you go to bed, your mind is so active and it's constantly fighting and struggling with whatever conflicts you have got in your mind. Although you might have slept, you didn't rest. There's so much turmoil going on in your mind. You are wrestling with negative thoughts or with something that might have happened to you in your past. And this turmoil goes on and on throughout the night, so you toss and you turn and you wake up in a wet bed. Your bed is all wet, just like you've been in a fight or ran a race. You might have slept, but your mind was in warfare, because the mind is the real battlefield. The real enemy fights you in your mind. It is out to stress you to death. It is out to make you worry. It is there to break you down. It wants to make you feel as though you cannot win, as though you can't get up another time. It wants to make you quit and see you fail. It wants you to give up on your dream. But what I need you to realize is that the war is not in your checkbook or in your savings account. It is not with those close to you or in your job. The war is not with your spouse or with your children. The fight that you have got to fight is in your mind. And trust me, if you can whip it in your head, you can whip it in your bank account. You can whip it in your job. You can whip it out in your relationship. But you have to try. You have to make a conscious decision to take control. And one day when that happens, when you take control, when that day comes, suddenly you realize that the enemy cannot use your car. The enemy cannot use your house. The enemy cannot use your job. Because the enemy doesn't care about those things. The enemy doesn't need those things. But life is after your mind, looking for any entrance you can get into, so that it can upset your mind and slowly begin to wear you out. That is why it is of the utmost importance to rather have peace than joy. It is infinitely better to look at the person in the mirror and like what you see, and to rather curl up in bed and hug yourself and fall asleep loving yourself than wake up the next morning overjoyed with who you are as a special individual. God has promised to keep the person whose mind is stayed on Him at peace. If you are anxious, that means you have anxiety about something that hasn't happened yet. Most people are so worried about the threat of trouble. This means you are not in trouble. It is just that trouble has threatened you. And the threat of what might happen or what could happen is wearing you down. Half of these things that you thought were going to happen to you never happened. But if you allow those thoughts to dominate your mind, They will at some point in your life succeed in robbing you of your peace, robbing you of your joy, and robbing you of your life because you thought yourself into depression. Yes, we need to worry a little. Yes, some things need to alarm us. Yes, we need to be wary of our enemies. But don't let it conquer you and your thoughts. As I leave you today, I want you to think back on those days where you thought you would not make it another day. I want you to think back on the days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you didn't know what you were going to do, and realize that your survival rate for every one of those bad days is 100%. You have survived every eviction. You have survived every repossession. You have survived every firing. You have survived all the haters. You have survived all those wishing you would never make it. You have survived every bad test score. You have stood strong till this day, and you have survived all those beatings. Your survival rate till this point is 100%. And all you have to do now is change the way you see yourself, change the way you think. You can shield yourself from the thing that stops most people, and that is negative thought. Remember, poor thinking habits is what keeps most people poor. The greatest Bible phrase I've ever read was in Proverbs 23 verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now I want you to think about that and how awesome that phrase is. It tells us that we become what we think, and we act in accordance with what we hold in our hearts. So today, I want to challenge you. Today I want you to waste no more time or effort wrestling with other people and their opinions of you. Your future is not predicted by someone else's decision. Don't waste any more of your life trying to change other people's minds about you. It doesn't matter what they think or how they feel about you, because your life will not be blessed by their opinions. Your life will only be blessed by how you see yourself. So go look yourself in the mirror and say, I believe I'm coming out on top. I might not know where I'm going to. I might not know who I might lose along the way, but I do know this. I believe that I'm coming out on top. And then let that feeling of coming out on top drive you to new levels and new heights as you go through your life following your dreams.